right, let's call him.
Yo, yo.
Shalom, what's up, buddy? All right, so let's start at the beginning. Obviously, this has been a pretty crazy time for you. I know you talked about how you were working on these videos for a while before ultimately you released it around the time the Kris Tyson stuff was blowing up. How long were you working on that stuff?
About a month before the Kris Tyson stuff came out.
Were you planning to do it far before then, or when you were working at the company, were you planning on doing this, or was it like after you left, then you thought that maybe stuff should come out?
No, yeah, I mean, there was people at the company who were just very open with me about, the things that they saw and experienced or whatever. And I just, while I was at the company, I was sort of digging into it a little bit, not intending to make a video, but just kind of out of curiosity. And
Right.
then, once I got let go, I was like, started digging into it more. And then I just decided that it should go public.
Gotcha. So was some of this stuff like an open secret at the company?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And like, how far down did this go? Because you were, not to shit on you, you were like a low level employee, you would say, right? So like, how many people heard rumors of this stuff or knew about this kind of stuff going on? Because there's a lot of allegations we'll get into, but with everything you're talking about, was it like widespread knowledge, like let's say about the Kris stuff behind the scenes? Like, how much do people know about that? One big question for me, as far as like, because obviously to some extent, I know Jimmy had some vague knowledge of the Shadman stuff, but did anybody know about like that Discord server, anything that was going on? Did you hear rumors about that, or like Kris having inappropriate interactions with minors?
No, I didn't hear anything about the inappropriate interaction with minors. Just that, there was some weird stuff going on essentially, and I heard about the Shad base and that she was like openly into Lolly or whatever.
Okay, so that was somewhat known behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, it's also like a 300-person company, and like my position was pretty unique, and I was also like surrounded by people who interacted with Jimmy on a daily basis, who were also like had one foot out the door of the company, and it was just kind of like a weird, unique situation, I guess.
Right. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff you're alleging from this. I guess we can kind of work from the beginning with the original video you posted about the illegal gambling. From everything I can tell, it seems to me that it probably was, the lottery specifically, were definitely illegal. Was there ever talk at the company behind the scenes about like maybe that was a bad idea, or like there should have been some oversight with that, or like did Jimmy just kind of like, oh, we'll do this, let's just do it, and nobody really thought about it?
Yeah, I mean, all that, or the majority of that occurred before my time at least, so I can't really speak to that, but I did hear rumors, or I guess they're not rumors because they're confirmed about, running sketchy, potentially illegal giveaways.
Right. And were people in the company internally critical of Jimmy for that? Did they have problems with it?
Yeah, I mean, just the one person I spoke to, I guess.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. So apart from that, the first video I watched, so the first time I watched it, because people wanted me to watch your video, I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I was just like, this is I just got out, so I stopped watching. The next time around when I watched the first video, because people were like, you need to watch this, it's blowing up, I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. The first like 15 minutes I had a very hard time, and then past that I think it really started to come together when you're talking about the gambling stuff. I think it's probably fair to say that some of the points in isolation are kind of whatever, like for example the raccoon thing, like that part is just like whatever, but
yeah, true.
My kind of grasp on it is you're building a narrative of showing like MrBeast fakes the videos, he gains the trust of the audience, and then he pushes this other stuff. Is it fair to say that you don't really care about the videos being fake, like if that was it?
Yeah, well, I don't care about the videos being fake at all. I just care that they're not transparent about it. It's just kind of weird.
Is transparency always important?
Well, dude, like imagine, like nobody really cares that the WWE is fake, but imagine the WWE was like, oh shit, like guys, this is real and you can compete and win a bunch of money.
Right. I mean, yeah, but I guess from my perspective, I just don't really, I guess the faking videos on its own, like the raccoon thing, I don't really give a shit. And I don't think there's any like, I don't think there's any like legal consequence that could even come to Jimmy from faking videos, right?
Yeah.
The legal consequence would come from the, illegal lottery. Now, you said you submitted a complaint to the FTC, right?
I can't really speak on that.
Okay.
Did I say that?
I thought you said something about that in the video. But okay. Whether you did or didn't, whatever. Have you heard any chatter behind the scenes? Has anyone reached out to you asking for evidence from the government, or can you not talk about that?
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
Okay. All right. Well, with that out of the way, I guess the thing to talk about is the more recent video with Jake Wed, first of all. Now, so I watched the entire video. I thought it was interesting. I will say, I know you were including his full interview, basically. I feel like some of it could have been cut. Like some of it, I think people are going to care about less. People are going to care. Some of it people are going to care about more. Like for example, with the like not being paid what he thought he should have been paid in the beginning of the video for like the job he had. Like, do you see that as a major concern, that he's like, he feels like he isn't making enough money, or like MrBeast isn't paying all his employees like 10 grand a month? Like, I guess to me, I don't really see that as a major concern, especially when, entry level position, the guy is like 20 years old. I don't care as much about that kind of thing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, when he went into the meeting with his friend and he was like, hey, we want these things, and they both get severance checks,
Right.
I think that's like pretty bad.
I agree with that.
I mean, I don't know the legality of it, but I have people in my Twitter DMs saying that it's like technically a union or whatever, and it's illegal. I don't believe that, but I definitely think it's bad.
Yeah, I agree. That particular thing was bad as far as asking for more and then getting fired immediately. I think that's pretty shitty. Question for me would be, like, you're putting out this big interview with this guy. He makes a lot of claims. How much of that do you know happened?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've corroborated some things with like an editor who worked on that solitary video. So I think like that, I mean, there's sufficient evidence in the video.
Well, for the solitary thing, I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
So
Anything before that is like,
with the solitary thing,
his,
I guess, okay, so we know he was in the room and did the challenge because we have a screenshot of that. And we know at one point he messaged someone about the psychological issues he was facing. We know that. Beyond that, I guess one big question I would just have is like, how do I know that everything that he claimed went on in that room happened, you know?
Yeah, I guess you don't. I mean, it's just his testimony, and like maybe there could be more corroborating evidence. I didn't really reach out to people as far as like, oh, was the meteor car video fake, or did he actually go in the writer's room and pitch this?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's just his testimony. I find no reason not to believe him. I find him pretty credible. I know he's kind of like a goofy, struggling stand-up comedian, and
Certainly.
like, you could criticize him for being like performative. I know a lot of people were saying he was reading off a script, which he wasn't.
Even if he was, I don't think reading off a script really matters. I don't even care. Fake crying, real crying, I don't really give a shit. The thing I would care more about is if the claims themselves, like beyond aesthetics and optics, can be corroborated. And I think that Jimmy can dispute that somehow, because I think at this point he's probably going to respond. I think you're going to have a really hard time with that video in particular. And I feel like my greater criticism is like including a lot of like this random peripheral shit in that from that interview, like the Rubik's Cube thing, or like him feeling he wasn't being paid enough. I know it's like building towards a narrative, but I feel like smaller points being really easy to respond to are going to allow potentially, let's say everything Jake said is true, it's going to allow MrBeast to have a very good response and really make that guy look nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you concerned about that at all?
No, I mean, I believe him. I've also just received so many DMs of like similar instances, which I just haven't, I didn't put them in the video, or I put a few in the beginning that people could like pause and read if they want, but everyone wants to be anonymous, but I know for a fact that like the working conditions were garbage.
Right.
And are still garbage, so.
And I assume there's going to be a part 3 at this point, probably, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. So obviously you're not being formally sued yet. You received a cease and desist though. Past that, would you guess Jimmy's going to respond? I would guess he's probably going to at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been like trying to reach out behind the scenes. Like it's like playing a game of telephone where he's talking to people who are talking to me, and then I'm talking to different people who are talking to him.
Do they know does he know that they have contact with you? I assume not.
Yeah, I mean, well, some of them, right? It's like there's also that game of like moles or whatever, that bullshit. But no, like I'm trying to talk to him directly. Like I've messaged him and Chucky and other people on the team, and I'm like, here's the people that I think are bad apples based on what I'm receiving, and they need to be let go or investigated. And like I'm down to find a resolution. I don't really care. I'm not trying to just destroy his career for no reason or whatever.
From your perspective, is there, let's say everything you said is true as far as what you can prove, do you think this guy, his career should be over, or do you see that as not really your call to make?
Yeah, I mean, that's too tough of a call to make because I don't personally know Jimmy, but I know for a fact at least that some of his high level executives are just they've done like terribly unethical and illegal things.
Right.
And like if he's wanting to protect them and not let them go, then that definitely points to him also being complicit.
Can you talk about some of those high level illegal things you may know about? I mean, obviously we know about the Delaware guy. He wasn't particularly high level though, from what I understand. Can you tell me more? Obviously this is allegations, but about maybe some people who are employed there who have some problems or have some kind of rap sheet?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what I alluded to in the video, part 3 potentially, or
okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Talk about it.
Now on that, there is some specific stuff I want to go over. So first of all, obviously this was brought to light a lot after the video came out, but I'm sure you saw this Tyson tweet of Kris talking about Jake the Viking's brother-in-law being this Delaware person. That happened, and then Jake made his statement. What do you think is going on there? From everything you've gathered, I assume this is the same person, right?
Yeah.
What level of culpability do you put on Jake the Viking?
I mean, if he's going to say Jimmy knew, I mean, he definitely also knew, so. But, his claim and the rest of that, he put out a tweet or whatever, he's, essentially claiming that he's a nice guy, and, like, my intention is not just to have a witch hunt after this random guy who, I don't take Jake's word as, like, gospel as fact.
Right.
I think to end up on the registry, you probably got to do some bad shit.
I mean, the thing about Jake is Jake has made a lot of claims publicly, but he hasn't provided any proof. Like, for example, saying Jimmy knew, right? But then never really elaborating or giving anything else. You want to elaborate on that. But then when he's accused of knowing about his be like brother-in-law. He'll give an explanation of like he's a good guy, and it's just, you know, it's kind of a strange look, I would say. So another thing important, I want to see if you have any insight on this tweet that I've seen floating around a lot. So there's this post from Kris Tyson. I believe it's Kris Tyson's private account. This is screenshotted a while ago. People have been passing this around a lot, but it reads, I've been taking a break because I'm currently cutting out people who think acceptance is solely allowing me to exist around them, and that because they allow me to be in their presence means I should be okay with misgendering and dead naming. Emotionally, I'm exhausted. They've had 2 years and I've smiled and said nothing because I felt like that was what I deserved. No one deserves that, but legal stuff might take place. So I'm going to be AFK from social media for a while. Love you all. Do you know anything about this? Because, I mean, Kris Tyson's essentially alluding to seemingly legal action against people within MrBeast company for this kind of thing. Do you have any insight on this at all?
Yeah, I think I alluded to this in like the first Twitter video that I posted. I mean, I just heard through the grapevine that, yeah, she was like pissed at the company and wanting to, whatever it's called, like discrimination or something for like people being transphobic.
Sure. Do you have any reason to believe that maybe Kris knew about some of this stuff and was not? Basically, the implication a lot of people are putting out here is Kris knew about, let's say, the illegal lottery. Kris definitely knew about the Delaware thing.
No.
Sorry?
She definitely did not know that illegal lotteries was going to go public. And then the Delaware thing is like, I don't know what year he got fired, but you know, it's before 2024 for sure. So
right.
There's no legal stuff there.
Okay. How do you know that Kris didn't know about the illegal lottery? Did you reach out to Kris, or are you just assuming because we don't really have proof of them knowing that, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure she knew that it happened, but you know, not that it was going to come to light and there would be any legal action.
Right. How much responsibility do you place on like average employees who knew about some of this stuff and haven't whistleblowed on any of it? Because obviously there's some people who have talked to you about it. You have some anonymous screenshots, but a lot of people are unwilling to come forward. If people knew about some of this stuff behind the scenes or were unwilling to speak out, how do you feel about that? Do you place any responsibility on them, or is it just kind of like the consequences for them would be graver than the benefit they would get by speaking out, therefore whatever?
Yeah, I personally place no responsibility on like the low level employees who depend on this job for their livelihood and they're just like observing things.
Right.
Unless it's like severe in the case of Delaware or whatever. But I guess like, yeah, I mean, the company does a lot of things that are potentially illegal, and it's kind of just, it's not really your responsibility. Like you should assume that Jimmy's going through the proper like legal counsel and getting approval for these lotteries. Like, yeah, the janitor's not going to know what is and what isn't definitely illegal.
Right. Now, one thing from that recent video you had was you had that document, that internal, document that you're alleging is basically something that MrBeast would shop around to people, the no means no thing, or no doesn't mean no thing, right? Do you have any like verification for that? Because from my perspective, all I can see is like it's a document you have, and I don't know if that's a real picture. Did you receive that document? Did you other people receive the document? Have you gotten corroboration? Like just any kind of verification anyone can get to like show that that is real and not just some Google Doc that somebody pulled out of their ass,
Yeah, I mean, I could probably privately send you verification. I mean, I'm sure like the whole document's going to get leaked. I received it from someone.
If you don't want to publish it, then just don't send it to me privately, because I don't want to, if I can't publish it, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying 1,000% it's real. This is from the company.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay. Now, beyond that, I think another big question that a lot of people are going to be asking is like, can we assume everything that is in these videos is like credible and has been like reviewed by lawyers, and everyone involved is willing to like take a stand in court if this goes to court? Like, can we assume that? Because there's a lot of stuff being claimed here, and this stuff might rise to the level of going to some kind of court if this happens. Is everybody willing to testify? Are these anonymous people willing to testify?
I mean, probably not. They want to be anonymous. My first video was reviewed by lawyers, and then I know Jake Wed, he had spoken with NDA lawyers.
Was your second video reviewed by lawyers?
Yeah.
Okay. And they gave you the go-ahead? They said this is fine to publish?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about the public response to this stuff so far? I know a lot of people people have accused like Ludwig, who was in chat earlier, of like running defense for MrBeast or not believing the allegations enough. I know yesterday on Cam Nugget's stream, you're like, well, he's your friend, he's his friend, so he's going to defend him. Do you not place any culpability on people like that to like, regardless of friendship, interpret allegations impartially and like call out bullshit where it happens? Like, I feel like you have to have some thoughts on like the public response to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he should make an attempt to be unbiased and just, I mean, I don't really care.
You don't have any intent of like criticizing those people?
No, not really.
What's like the general culture from your perspective of like the MrBeast staff outside of executives, as in how does the average employee feel about the company? Because you've spoken to some of them, but were people there disconcerted with how the company was going or the work culture? Or is there like a lot of stuff that everyone was facing that should be talked about publicly?
I mean, a lot of people are on short-term, like 90-day contracts. They're kept in the dark. The long-term higher-ups are probably mostly evil, and then like the lower lower level people are probably mostly victims almost.
Right. Okay. I feel like in my mind, the biggest thing from that video you dropped, which I think a lot is the thing everybody's talking about. So I think we're all kind of in agreement as far as the sociopath video, is the Delaware thing, right? Is this Delaware thing? Have you gotten more people after this video coming to you behind the scenes and being like, Jimmy definitely knew? Because we know Jake the Viking, he described a very specific instance where supposedly it was explained to MrBeast what this guy did, what the charge was, and he was okay with him working there anyway. So, like, have you gotten any other confirmation that you're going to publish, or just confirmation you won't publish, I guess, that, like, maybe explains, like, how much did MrBeast know? Because from my perspective, I mean, obviously the title of your video is Beast is a sociopath. Let's say he is, right? If I'm in a sociopath's shoes and I know that this guy is on the team who has this kind of liability and you're running a brand like this, it seems so stupid to like even be aware that he was charged with a crime and keep him around at all. So like from my perspective, it's like there's gonna be a high burden of proof to prove that Jimmy 1000% knew about this dude. What level of culpability have you heard behind the scenes as far as like what James, you know, quote Satan Beast knew?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't reached out to people asking specifically, but just like searching my Twitter messages right now for the term Delaware, there's two very credible sources who have been close to Jimmy who are acknowledging that he did in fact know.
Okay.
But obviously they both want to be off the record, so I'm not going to say details.
Right. Two credible sources from you, plus Jake the Viking, plus this other guy hearing rumors that Jimmy knew. Do you have a personal opinion on if Jimmy knew or not, or just not going to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, these people are giving me more details than I can say, so it's like with specific events happening and stuff. So yeah, I definitely think Jimmy knew.
Okay. I guess it's hard to say what's going to happen. What do you think should happen if he knew that he hired a sex offender? I feel like he shouldn't like ever be trusted about anything ever again if that's the case.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I don't think there's any excuse for that.
yeah, I mean that in addition to what might get revealed in part 3 is like, yeah, I agree. I don't know. It's tough.
So are you, obviously you have personal opinions, are you hoping to remain relatively impartial and just like report what you get about the situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm part 3 will definitely be completely impartial.
Okay. And is part 3 going to be what you were planning for part 2? Because obviously part 2 seems kind of impromptu.
No, I mean, I was gonna talk about philanthropy stuff. I have some people in my DMs who are related to that, but I kind of just don't really care. I feel like most people don't really care. I think that's accurate.
Right. Well, you had talked about, you heard he was exposed for trashing a beach and then cleaning it up to make a video look good. To be clear, my assumption from that was that someone that he hired, some philanthropic organization or some people did clean up beaches, but then to make the video better, he basically staged that. Is that what you heard? Is that what your impression is from whoever this is making this allegation?
No. So for one, that's not like that's old controversy, and it's not, I didn't receive that information from like a verified employee. I just saw that on an article in like a TikTok.
Okay.
And I can send you the article, but
yeah, can you send me that? Because I've been looking for that and I haven't been able to find anything about it. Probably just because there's so much recent stuff about MrBeast. It's tough to dig through old articles.
Yeah, I don't think him cleaning it up was put in a video. I think he filmed a video on this island. He trashed it. Then he left. Then these people came across the island and they're like, what the hell? So they contacted him, clean it up. And then apparently he sent the philanthropy to clean it up. But I think that's just what the article says.
Okay.
So I don't know what the source for that information is.
I'm going to put this in an archive because they're asking me to pay and I'm not paying these. Top YouTuber celebrates 100 millionth subscriber, trashes remote Bahamas island. This story was updated on Sunday, April 16th to reflect the fact that the YouTube Celebrities Organization has announced it would take over the cleanup of Raccoon Cay. 300 miles from Florida, Raccoon Cay is one of the most remote islands of the Bahamas, so when Kris dropped anchor off beach earlier this month, he expected something close to pristine, particularly the leeward side where ocean debris doesn't accumulate. Instead, Folgate found trash, lots of it, and not washed by waves, plastic water bottles, plastic storage tubs, sunscreen spray cans, spray paint cans, flip-flops, and a whole lot of tiki torches. What I'm trying to see here is if Jimmy trashed it, I guess. But it looks like it's this one guy basically talking about the fact there's still trash there after it was supposed to be cleaned up. There doesn't seem to be definitive proof here. So another allegation, I guess. Do you have any qualms about publishing some of these unverified allegations? Like, are you worried about blowback you might face, or do you think it, like, I don't know, I think it's okay to talk about unverified allegations as long as you say they're unverified, but obviously you're the biggest person pushing this right now. Do you have any worry about how that may go in the court of public opinion or in a court of law when some of these claims are like possibly likely but unverified?
Yeah, well, that specific article, that was originally research I was doing for part 1, and yeah, I had recorded myself talking about that, but then I was like, yeah, this seems not as verified, so I cut it from the video.
Right. So is your bar for verification if someone involved on the inside has something to to say about it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And as far as what Jake Weddle went into, do you have any, did he provide you any more proof or verification about what went on with this like psychological torment thing? Or is,
Yeah,
is everything in the video?
I've been in contact with like an editor who worked on it, and they want to remain anonymous. So
okay. What do you think about a lot of people have said things like this? I disagree with it. I'm curious your take. People have said, well, you know, he could leave at any time. He can just leave. Obviously in the video we talked a little bit about the pressure he might be facing from, you know, social pressure or like pressure to keep his job or, you know, move higher up in the company if he doesn't do these challenges. How do you feel about that sort of criticism being made of him? Like,
I mean, you know, I get why people say that. It's just, if you were in that situation, it would be very difficult to leave, because it's like he might literally be in a position where his friends lose their jobs if he leaves, because it's a expensive video for the company and they don't want that money to go to waste.
Right. Have you gotten any of that footage? Do you know if that footage still exists somewhere on some hard drive?
Yeah, I mean, I know Jake was trying to get it. I think like as of a month ago, it was confirmed to exist, but we can't get it.
How would you feel if the footage comes out and let's say hypothetically Jake Weddle was full of shit? How would you feel about that?
I'm gonna feel terrible, obviously.
Yeah.
That'd suck.
I guess that's probably unlikely, but you never know. All right. Well, I think that's the majority of the questions I had. I know I'm being somewhat oppositional, playing devil's advocate, but you know, that's kind of what I feel like my role should be here, because I don't want to just glaze you. Is there anything you want to clear up from common criticisms you've seen or stuff people have talked about that you want to, I don't know, just like give some kind of take on for the audience?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'm just a Jake Weddle defender. I know some people are critical of him because of his personality, and I know he has that very performative personality, and people were saying he was reading off a script, which I was there. He definitely was not, which I don't care if he was, but...
Do you feel like you could have cut out parts of the interview that weren't really relevant, like him spending $50K on his stand-up? Like, I feel like some of that stuff is, I get it's part of the interview and it's part of his story, but some of it, like the Rubik's Cube thing or like the marathon thing, like that was really important. I think the psychological experiment or whatever, the solitary confinement, that's really important, but I feel like some of this stuff could have not been there.
Yeah, I think that's fair criticism.
Yeah. Would you have redone the video or no?
You want to review my next one and then tell me what to cut out?
I mean, I'll take a look. Yeah. You know, don't trust my word just inherently, but yeah, I'll weigh in. Sure.
All right.
Yeah. I know you're an iDubbbz fan. I can tell that from the videos. What's your plan after this? Do you have any plan? Were you ever planning to be a YouTuber? Are you planning to keep posting after this? Or are you just kind of, you know, get in, fuck up MrBeast's whole life and then leave kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be cool to just make the accounts go dark after this. I don't know. I won't commit to anything. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's the majority of the questions I had, but yeah, thank you for coming on.
Wait. Let me clarify, man, because chat's cooking me, dude. I liked iDubbbz when he was cool. Okay, old iDubbbz.
Yeah. We know the iDubbbz you're talking about, okay? We know the iDubbbz you're talking about. Okay, well, I definitely agree with that take. You know, no one likes the new iDubbbz. The gay iDubbbz, we don't like that iDubbbz. Metaphorically speaking. Good luck, buddy. I hope things work out for you. You know, I feel like personally, my personal opinion is a lot of the stuff you're saying is, and these people saying is probably true, but you know, from the public perspective, you got to have verification for a lot of shit. So, you know, good luck. I hope it works out. You're challenging like the greatest institutional power that YouTube has ever seen in terms of YouTubers. So yeah, man, good fucking luck.
All right, thanks, man. Have a nice rest of your stream.
All right. Well, I think I asked most of the questions I had. And I saw a lot of people saying I'm playing devil's advocate in chat, or saying I'm asking questions. People saying I'm defending MrBeast. I'm not defending MrBeast, but you realize you have to go from all angles here, right? You have to go from every single angle in this situation. When you're making a public allegation, I have to question everything that's unproven. You know, I have to. And that's the approach I've had with all these controversies, and it's going to be the approach I have in the future.